I'm Shantell Martin. I'm 31 years old. I'm from London originally, lived in Japan for a few years, and now I live in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. Represent. I want to represent. I'm an artist, and I guess essentially I draw, and I draw with lines, digital lines or analog lines. I draw on walls and cars and people and ceilings and on computers, and I do a lot of projections, and so there's lots of things I do, and I also teach workshops and talk about creativity and talk about drawing, and as well as a few other things, I'm sure. So we spoke a couple of years ago, and things are completely different now, and now I'm working a lot more on my like physical line drawing, so drawing with pens, and I think before it was more projections and more digital. So now I'm working towards a solo show in New York within the next 9 to 12 months. So I'm working on a body of work, so bigger pieces as well as some smaller pieces, and yeah, that's about it. So lots and lots and lots of drawing, and then also I'm working on a few different commissions in offices and homes around New York. I feel more comfortable with what I'm doing now, and I felt comfortable with the projection work as well, and everything comes in a full circle. When I was doing projection work, that's where I was. I was more into being in the moment and just going to a show and doing visuals with music and then closing my computer and going home. And I feel like now I'm trying to extract some stuff that's perhaps deeper inside of me, and for me to do that, I feel like working in more of a home environment or working in more of a studio environment, just with pens and paper and walls, kind of gets more of that out in a way, and it gets more of my thoughts out and more of my issues out and more of my ideas out. So I feel comfortable with that and getting these things out and expressing myself. There's definitely been a shift from doing projection work to doing more analog work, and it was very, very gradual. So I would do less and less performance work and more drawing, and it kind of went like that. It was a very, very gradual change till the point where I was like, when did I last perform live? I don't remember. So it kind of snuck up on me a little bit. Yeah, so in the New York Times they quoted that, yeah, my work is a stream of consciousness, or I am a stream of consciousness, and in many ways I am my work, and I've been thinking recently about, do people know me outside of my work, and actually do I exist outside of my work, and who am I outside of my work, and when I look back on how I started to work, and basically I started to draw because it's the only way I knew to get out of the environment that I was in, that I was uncomfortable with, which perhaps wasn't that safe and nurturing in the area that I grew up in, and the way that I could get out of that was by drawing and getting these feelings of anger out, or feelings of kind of discomfort out, and putting it on paper, and that was my therapy in a way. And I wasn't consciously aware of what I was doing at the time when I was younger, but it's a way that I found naturally to cope with things. And even as an adult now, if I look back on some of my work, it is a stream of consciousness, because I'm not totally I'm not planning what I do, I'm not thinking about what I do, but when I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, this is how I feel right now. This is what I'm dealing with right now. These are the people in my life right now, because it's very, very personal, and it's how I express myself. I'm not the most verbal people, and I don't talk about how I feel a lot, but I do in my work, and I do within my lines, and then it is that bridge for communicating for me in many ways. I think in general, when people see my work now, I want them to, well, when people look at my work, generally they smile, and you can see that they're getting something from it. Like they get it. They can relate to it in some way. There's some truth in it. There's some honesty in it. There's some sincerity in it. Perhaps it is a little bit childish in a sense, in a kind of naive way, but I feel like people take from it an idea of being able to relate to it and being able to relate to me and who I am, and perhaps get a little bit of an idea about who I am. And for me, that's kind of special, you know, for people to look at my work, A, smile, or A, get something about what's going on about me, or C, just enjoy it. And that's one thing that I really like. People always ask me, yeah, you know, what happens if you make a mistake? And I say I use a permanent pen, I use a permanent marker because I want to live with my mistakes, and everything is a huge mistake. And I feel like, you know, we go through life trying to erase things or cover them up, and in fact these things make us. And without these mistakes of our past, or without these mistakes of these relationships or jobs, or, you know, we wouldn't be who we are. And of course that sounds like a bit cliche, but it's true, and I try not to cover any of that up in my work. I want it to almost, you know, slap me in the face and remind me of these things. Yeah, I guess my work is a bigger piece, and then you find these details and these stories within it, and I don't plan the piece as a whole. I do have the idea that I don't want to make something that you look at once and you get it and you walk away. I want you to come back, I want you to come back again, I want you to come back again, and each time, oh, I didn't see this, or oh, look at that, or I didn't see this, and I want you to like feel refreshed every time you look at it, or feel like you're discovering something, because that's how I want to see work. I want to see work as a discovery, and I want to feel that I'm making those discoveries. And if it's just like a one-off piece that's just like bam, there's not that much we can take away from it. So I don't plan these little stories in there, but I do have the idea that I want everything to be connected and make one bigger piece. So you can look at it from far away, and then you can like have that journey of getting a little bit closer and then seeing these things. Probably the biggest piece I've done is my bedroom. And you know, I've been living in that bedroom, or in my bedroom, for a year now, so I guess that's a year of little lines and drawings and stories and messages. I feel like my room is done and I can add to it more, but it's like, you know, when you lie down and you look up the clouds and you see all these different shapes in the cloud, and it's kind of it's nice to imagine those shapes within the clouds, like, oh, I can see a rabbit or a face. And that's what it's like with my bedroom now. There are these areas where I feel like, oh, I could draw this there, or oh, that looks like this and I should draw that there. But I do like the idea that now I can just lay back and imagine those things without them actually existing. So I feel like now might be a good time to stop. Always a good question, when are you done? And for me, I feel it, and I'm drawing, and it doesn't feel finished. I'm drawing, oh, it nearly feels finished. I'm drawing, oh, stop, I'm done. And you feel it in your bones, you feel it in your blood, you know, something inside of you says stop. And it's important to know when to stop, and you know, of course in the past I keep going, and then I'm like, oh, I wish I stopped when I thought I should have stopped. So now you know, I guess I've taught myself to feel that and listen to it. You know, comparisons, people are always going to want to compare you to other artists, and people compare me a lot to Keith Haring, and I never knew about him until I moved to America, you know, his work was, in a way, yeah, it was a lot of continuous line. There was stories within stories. It was very whimsical and fun in a way. It was very energetic. There was definitely a story behind himself as an artist and his travels. So, I of course I don't mind, and I think his work's amazing, and I enjoy his work. I think mine is different in the sense that the line quality is different, the stories are different, I'm very different in a way. So I feel like the comparison has some similarities, but I feel like if people really got to know my work, then they wouldn't make that comparison. So, I've been working doing live performance shows, typically using my computer and a drawing tablet and going out for a projector and essentially drawing with light. Shows that I want to work on in the future and that I'm kind of developing now, kind of going back to the beginning of where I started and coming from more of an analog kind of aspect or dimension. So, by the time this comes out, I would have done the show that I'm going to do tonight, which is at the Natural History Museum. And it's a little bit of a big show for me because I came to New York on holiday and I went to the party that I'm going to play at tonight, and I was like, wow, this party's amazing, the venue's amazing, I'd love to play here at some time in the future. And fast forward on, tonight I'm going to be doing that show. And then not a lot of live performance shows planned out because I'm totally focusing more on drawing, and I feel like that's why I want to make drawing in an analog way more of a live performance show, because that's where my mind is right now. It's not so digital, it's more analog, but I am a performer. I love to perform. That's what elevates me, that's what makes me feel good. So I do want to bring that back into my life somehow.